very warm welcome to all of you and to this exclusive fireside chat. I'm Amit Satyati, EVP and the business head for IoT line of business with Vodafone Idea. And today's theme, friends, is decarbonizing India through IoT connected electrified mobility. As you know, there are several enablers to achieve decarbonization. One of the key ones today is electrified mobility. So today's fireside chat on this topic is planned as per the worldwide week celebration for IoT. And this we have been doing constantly for last 3 years, and every year we pick up a new topic. But this year was the most exciting one and most relevant one, I felt. And the team which was putting this together. This is the third year in the recurring. We are hosting a panel of experts. We don't have anybody from the regulatory side, but we have two stalwarts from the industry side and very diverse gentlemen. So I'm sure you'll benefit a lot in this fireside chat, where we will discover how the world of IoT and world of electric mobility enable the decarbonization agenda of the government and enterprises, besides, of course, transforming their business models. Many startups have emerged to work as manufacturers, aggregators, service providers in this ecosystem. So I'm sure even they will benefit from this, because the interplay of these players is essential for creating a favorable ecosystem. It's also important to know what needs to be done to best leverage their potential in order to take advantage of the enormous opportunity in this industry. People like us, who are the telecom operators, will play a very integral role in influencing the adoption of connected technologies as well as their proliferation. To elaborate on this, we have organized this chat today, which explores why enterprises should focus on decarbonization, whether the most common one is the last mile, where we'll hear more from Sandeep and Anand, and how the EV industry can leverage the rising technologies of IoT and 5G. While we will not dwell too much on the 5G part today, for that we'll have a separate conversation. It will be mostly around the IoT and the convergence of IoT and the EV ecosystem. Personally, two favorite takeouts today, which I'm hoping to share with you, will be the future battle between the battery swapping operating model versus battery recharging operating model, because these two are running at the moment almost neck to neck. And then the emerging opportunity areas for enterprises and IoT service providers. And to help me deliver that message and sharing that message, I have the great pleasure of introducing Anand Thakur, who is the CEO for Electric Q, and Sandeep Ruperia, who is the business head for Revolt Motors. Just two lines about Anand. Anand has a wealth of experience, almost 25 years in the auto industry, and he has held a senior leadership position in Tata Motors, Piaggio, Suzuki, Honda, working on their electric vehicle projects. So nobody better than him to give us the news right from the kitchen, in a way. So today, rightfully so, he, with his immense knowledge and experience, Anand has also ventured into entrepreneurship, and he's founded Electric Q. So it'll be interesting to hear his viewpoint coming from the large enterprise to running his own shop. And Sandeep is, again, with a very diverse background. He comes from the private equity world, a financial professional who was involved in the acquisition of Revolt Motors on behalf of Rattan India Group. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, Sandeep, you may correct it when you step in. And he heads, he has a mandate not only of acquiring the company, but maybe his promoter said, okay, since you have acquired this organization, you will also execute it both within India, and his remit is also international, so he has to expand it to overseas market. He brings a very unique perspective, I think, from the financial viability of the EV adoption. And that's why this conversation becomes interesting, and from the policy making and regulatory nuances. So having said that, welcome to both the gentlemen. I'll straight away dive into my first question for Anand. Anand, are you okay if I go with you first?
Sure.
Okay. Anand, how do you see the Indian EV industry evolving with this large transformation, and what are the various business models you see will evolve in the market to grow the adoption? Over to you, Anand.
Yeah. Thank you, Amit. Good afternoon, friends. Amit, the EV industry, if you see in the last 6 to 8 years, has evolved drastically, and the adoption has been increasing year on year. The EV industry penetrations have reached more than 6%, 7% in two-wheeler. They're still small in four-wheeler category. And if you look at three-wheelers, the EV volumes have already surpassed the ICE engine vehicles. So the numbers say that the shift or adoption is going to be large. And there are various factors, but the prominent factors are the government policies which are favoring the CV adoption. Both the central government and the state governments, they have set a very ambitious target to make sure that this adoption is very fast. Uh, that is one thing. Second thing is that if you see business models as compared to the traditional ICE engines, where you sell the vehicle only from a personal commute perspective or a little bit of mobility perspective. But when it comes to EV, there are multiple business models that have evolved in the last couple of years. You have the last mile delivery, which is the mobility services. Then you have battery as a service is a very huge business model. You have charging again as a service platform separately coming out as a business model. And coupled to this, the incentive that government has provided both for the under the PMP scheme of the manufacturing or PLI schemes, also the FAME subsidies which they have offered, which are directly passed on to as a benefit to the consumer. So these three, four factors, I think, if the government continues the support the way they have been continuing during 2022 and 23, and the new business models that have been evolved, if we are able to capitalize on these two, I think the adoption will be very fast.
Thanks, Anand. I think in a very short time, you could show so much of positive opportunities around in this ecosystem. That was heartening for people who are trying to see that, okay, where can I add, value in this entire value chain? So, Anand, with that question, Sandeep, can I come to you for my second question,
Yeah, sure, Amit.
which is the one which actually is one of the most common questions we get from our clients as well. Is the financial viability, and nobody better than you to help us, because who has evaluated before takeover of a EV company from every angle. So I'm seriously thinking that nobody better than you can answer this question. So where do you see the customer's interest for long-term viability of owning an EV vehicle? Is it the long battery warranty, or swappable vehicle financing, or assured buyback, or lower operational cost? Where exactly is it, which is a sweet spot for the seller as well as the adopter?
All the points which you mentioned are on consumers' mind, and there are a few factors which are very well established for Indian consumers across various sectors. We, as a consumer, are very value conscious, right? Whether we are buying something for $5 or $5,000, we want to see what's the value we get in exchange of that price. So the fundamental issue which EV as an industry is facing is that your upfront cost of owning the EV is on the higher side, whereas the intelligent consumers are able to see through that, and they go by the total cost of ownership over a period of time or over a certain number of kilometers. So all the factors which are there in your questions, whether it's a battery swapping or operating cost and others, are basically trying to see how these vehicles can be made more affordable at the time of purchase itself, which could be innovative financing, which could be battery as a service, and so on. But I believe that's already there. But from our analysis, if you run these vehicles above certain kilometer on daily basis, they are like a tree of money, tree of savings, right? For any consumer. I would like to say one more point, which is probably not very much discovered, is that Indian consumer, apart from being value conscious, is also get very excited with the new feature, convenience, and what can be done with these vehicles. So, just to give an analogy, probably nobody thought 20 years back that your mobile phone will replace the cameras, mobile phone will replace your music devices, right? So electric vehicle, the word which you used right in the introduction, the connected piece, right? There are so many possibilities available to all of us to get it connected in various means and fashions, where the that data which we gather and data we made available to consumer and how consumer will get benefit from that would be a key. For example, today you have Google Map or other navigation services on mobile. You can store various locations that can be made available in the vehicle very easily. So your vehicle will know what's immediately will know this is the time you have to go to office. Okay, these are the two routes available. Don't take route A today, take route B, right? It can collect the data about your vehicle, give you intimations about various service requirements, and it can flag off various risks, right? So that data or connectivity piece, in my personal opinion, is something which will excite or keep the excitement going about EVs in India for its consumer. I believe the way technology is going, the way industry is scaling up, right? We all seen the 3x growth in the entire industry in this financial year, our last year. The cost, whether the upfront cost or the total cost of ownership, will fall in place. It's a matter of time, but the consumer will differentiate between multiple options available to him on the basis of what new feature he's getting as far as the data and use case are concerned.
Thanks, Sandeep. I think that is a very interesting slant. And to be honest, I was not expecting you to come up with that tangent of positioning, because you're just, and this is exactly what we try to do at Vodafone Idea when we are trying to position. While on the face of it, the customer is buying a solution to connect the electric vehicle, we say no, you are buying a load, tons of features. You're buying tons of data. You're buying tons of insights by which you can do a lot of transformation with your business models. And I think that is the angle you are also hinting at the financial viability. One is, of course, the upfront cost, which is a huge entry barrier. And that is for any product, whether it is consumer durable, whether it is a vehicle, anything. And that's why the innovative financing models have been flourishing. But just slightly repositioning this, and this is what I think before this started, even Anand was also hinting at. One should not look at it as an electric vehicle, but it's a connected vehicle, and connected vehicle packs in load of outcome which enhances the ROI. So keeping that in mind, actually, we have invested in a middleware platform and the connectivity management platform, which helps the interoperability and the capture of these data, which our clients can utilize for various other third-party solutions and third-party offerings, which you just mentioned. Anand, this was the thing which you were hinting at. Would you like to add on to what Sandeep said? This is a very interesting topic.
Yeah, so what Sandeep said is absolutely right. Indian consumer is not just a technical consumer. I mean, he wants the vehicle for his personal commute or for a commercial purpose, like what Sandeep explained into it. And today, when you look at the profile of Indian consumer, he wants the cheapest of the product with best of the quality and features. This kind of combination, I don't think doesn't exist in any other country across the globe, where you want the best quality, the maximum number of features at the lowest price. And because the customer is knowledgeable, so he's demanding also. So, and finally, he's right, because if you want to be in business, you have to make sure that your product fits into their consideration list. More important, unlike traditional ICE vehicles, where they still work on the analog kind of components, very little of electronics that is being used. Today, in the electric mobility or the connected mobility, you have everything like a phone. It's like a moving phone, a smartphone, just that you fuel it with a battery, and that's where we can discuss later. So, a connected vehicle for a personal mobility or a commercial mobility with a lot of features which can give you a real-time input, not just from a feature perspective, even from a safety perspective, at a low cost. I think if all this is packaged in a product, I think that product would be the highest selling product in the country.
And I'm sure you both gentlemen are keeping that in mind and developing your value proposition for your products, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So for next question, Sandeep, I think I'll try to pose the elephant in the room, the battery swapping stations or the EV charging. Sorry, no, that is one which we just covered. Sandeep, your second question, I will just, I think that was the, yeah, exactly this one. Battery swapping stations or the charging model, which is the more viable one?
I think the battery swapping and the charging station definitely makes sense when these vehicles are used on regular basis. They are doing the high mileage on daily, and if these vehicles are not on road, somebody is losing value. For the personal mobility or regular commuting perspective, uh, at least our data says that revolt bikes are not driven more than 35 to 45 kilometer a day, and 95% of consumers are charging these vehicles at home in the night. Right, that's data. Uh, for that, probably the charging station or the battery swapping. We tried battery swapping. That was not utilized by the consumers, right? So limited application. But yeah, on last mile connectivity, which is hyper local delivery, the commercial use of these vehicles into let's say the mass mobility solutions, right? There, if the vehicle is stuck for let's say 4 hour, 5 hour for charging, right? And that happens during the peak uses of that vehicle, it's a commercial loss, right? For that, you need a battery swapping solution. You need the charging infrastructure, which, in my opinion, should be a public good. So definitely, there's a tremendous use case of battery swapping and charging infrastructure both, right? And obviously, if you want to differentiate between these two, um, the batteries which are not bulkier in nature become easier to swap, right? There are vehicles coming with multiple dual battery options. You can keep one on charge, keep running on one, right? There are very innovative things happening in the industry. But for larger vehicles where the swapping is not so easily doable, then the fast charging infrastructure is the key. I believe the very serious national and global players are onto it. There are lots of push and pull by the government around this the charging public charging infrastructure, not just in India but across the globe. I think we as a community will evolve where you will find charging options as frequently, as closely as your fueling stations.
Thanks, Sandeep. So what I gather is both have their own market depending on the use case. Anand, you want to add something to this?
Yeah. So another point, Amit, if you look at from a consumer perspective, whether it is a personal commute or a last mile delivery, though the last mile delivery things are much more different. Why do you need a battery charging or a swapping? It is required because you have a range anxiety issues, not a range requirement. Like Sandeep rightly said, a personal commute user, if it is a scooter, doesn't travel more than 25 to 30 kilometers a day. If it is a motorcycle, he may travel a little more, maybe 30 to 40 or 40 to 50 kilometers. Depends upon his purpose of travel, whether it is for leisure or whether it is for work. But if you look at a last mile delivery or a consumer who is using for commercial purposes, whether it's a car, whether it's a three-wheeler, whether it's a two-wheeler, the average running per day varies between minimum 70, 80 kilometers and it goes up to 140, 150 kilometers. So when you're, and especially when you're using the vehicle for your livelihood, then your range anxiety becomes a necessity. In the sense you cannot stop your activity in between. Now, the questions here is that whether a lot of vehicles come with the chargers also, especially the smaller ones with a smaller battery capacity like two-wheelers or three-wheelers. But the problem is that where do you charge? So then the need or necessity of for the public charging comes. That is one point. Second point is that Charging takes time. The best of the fastest chargers will take 15 minutes for a smaller vehicle to say 45 minutes for a bigger vehicle based on the battery capacity. So then you need an alternative which is battery swapping. Now, what is battery swapping? Battery swapping is like your fuel stations. Because you walk into a swap station, maybe in 5 minutes to 10 minutes, you swap your batteries and you're on the move. So what does it say? It says that why do you have to invest on battery? So battery is indirectly a fuel for your vehicle. So why a consumer should invest on a battery? Why can't consumer consider battery on a pay by use basis? And if that is a solution, then you can bring down the cost of the vehicle by 30-40%. So if I'm buying a two-wheeler for 100,000 K, and if my battery cost is say 35-40,000, so without a battery, I'm buying at 60,000. But without a battery, I cannot use the vehicle. So that's where your swapping comes in. So it's very difficult at this stage because we are in the evolution stage. We have still not reached that mass. That means the denominator is still not there for companies to pump in big money, whether it is a charging infrastructure or swapping infrastructure. So that is why you see most of the companies which are supporting the four-wheeler category, they are investing heavy on charging
Yeah.
infrastructure, whether it is GeoBP or whether it is any other company, you name a company, because there at least the downtime of 30 to 45 minutes is acceptable. Because you need space, you need a lot of factors when it is a bigger battery or buses or those things. But when you come to these smaller categories, that is two-wheelers or three-wheelers, especially in your mobility or last mile delivery or first mile delivery category, they are all moving towards the battery swapping because there even that 15-20 minutes becomes very critical because if a person misses one order, because they work on number of orders per day, they make what 30 rupees to say 50, 60 rupees per order per delivery, and they have to do some 20-30 orders per day. So for them, those 15-20 minutes become critical. So what is happening is that all the last mile delivery as we see today is slowly moving towards the battery swapping category where earning becomes very important. And maybe in the commercial side, even on a personal, if you're traveling intercity, your charging helps because you will take a break of 30-45 minutes. It's there. So the question is, which is both category are important. It all depends upon what kind of product that you're using for what purpose. But finally, the way we look at it when we are making our business plan is that should the consumer buy the battery with the vehicle and invest 100% and later on go for swapping and charging? Or should we sell the vehicle to the consumer without a battery so that his cost of acquisition of the product is 30-40% lower and then go for the battery swapping where he can only use it like pay by, like we buy fuel from petrol station. We don't buy and keep the fuel at a place. Maybe not everybody tanks up the vehicle except for the four-wheeler users. So which direction to go is still in the mid stage, but from a commercial aspect, yes, charging and swapping are going to be big. They're already big. They're going to be even more bigger as we move forward because most of the vehicles, at least the smaller ones in the two-wheeler and three-wheeler category, they will be moving in the direction where the battery may not be sold with the vehicle, and one of these services will be used. And in addition to that, you need the vehicle to be a connected vehicle because when you're going for a swapping or when you're going for a charging, then you need to monitor lot many things because you're taking something which is not under your control or part of the vehicle. So your technology has to be much more uh, better than what it is or what it comes with the vehicle.
Thanks, Anand, and thanks, Sandeep. I think I have two more questions, last two questions, that is, and it could not have come at the opportune moment because now we're talking about the future, but still now we're talking about nearby future, but a slightly long future. Uh, and there are two questions. One, first I'll go with Sandeep. Sandeep, while you did dwell upon it a little bit in the first question itself, that what are the new path-breaking developments which a user can expect? If you can just briefly share some of your views on that.
I'll probably skip the whole connected piece and the ideas and the use cases behind it. It's covered. Apart from that, as we have already seen, we'll see a accelerated improvement in the range, which is driven by the technology around battery where you can pack more and more density of energy into a given space, right? You will see the delivery of the energies to give the higher power output to these vehicles. In my personal opinion, these vehicles are already superior to what ICE engine can deliver in terms of power. But it's a truth that there's no Formula One for EVs, right? So we need to probably reach there. So you'll see very fast technical development on that side. I think other piece which I'm personally excited is which is also mentioned by Anand, is that see battery today everybody is broadly focused on lithium ion and its couple of variations, right, in terms of technology. But the use cases are different for each and every vehicle. So as per that, the various battery chemistry and related technologies will develop, which will make this vehicle more attractive to that end user, right? So in my opinion, I think these are the very path-breaking changes which EV industry will see. More and more users will get comfortable of using a EV for their daily needs. This anxiety which we see today around the range or the service standards and so on, right? The end use of these vehicles, right? The cost of battery being there, warranty, there are obvious factors. The users will become very very comfortable with these ideas, and in my opinion, I think within next 48 to 60 months, our industry will see 70 to 80% penetration of EV vehicles.
Thanks, Sandeep. So my last question then, Anand, if you're okay, you can share. If you're not okay, you can pass it. And I couldn't resist the temptation of asking you because you have been in the kitchen of such large automotives in the designing phase of electric vehicles. What does V2X hold for EV industry? And what are the things which you believe will take off in India or you will keep in your roadmap when you are building your product?
See, a lot of things which have already come in the market, which is in the EV, and thanks to the EV vehicles, which have got a lot of technology there and made the vehicles very simple in terms of their operations. So the number of moving parts have reduced by 60-70%. So the maintenance of the vehicle or understanding of the product has become simpler. That is one major shift which has happened. Two, with this battery thing, whether it should be part of the vehicle, outside the vehicle, inside the vehicle, whatever decision, end of the day, the consumers are going to decide what is best suitable for them. And if it goes in that direction, then the cost of the vehicle acquisition will also come down because even the government taxes on EVs is much lower than the any of those ICE vehicles. But the most important factor which we see is the vehicles have become like mobile phones. You can see everything, you can have everything on the phone. They have become the connected vehicles. So they are the future of the mobility. In fact, there are no more traditional kind of vehicles where you don't know what is happening inside the vehicle or with the vehicle. And most important factor, what we've seen with this technology coming in, especially the connected vehicle platforms, is the safety aspect of the vehicles has drastically increased. Government is doing a lot more to improve that. But even now, whether you see the complete vehicle, like we use the IoT platforms in our vehicles extensively because we deploy vehicles for commercial use also. So sitting in our office, we know where the vehicle is, what is happening with the vehicle. We can see what is happening inside the vehicle, what is happening with the battery of the vehicle, what distance it has traveled. We can plan the life cycle of the vehicles. We have seen some people who have traveled 25,000 kilometers in a span of 3 months or 4 months time. So we can understand, study, monitor the vehicles and develop better products, which was not possible with non-EVs because for to study all this, you need to get the vehicle to a service station and then you can study this. So I think these things made a lot of difference when it comes to EV. And technology, it's evolving, it keeps changing, and whatever is happening is better for the consumer perspective.
Good, gentlemen. I think that was my last question. But if you both feel that we have missed out something which is useful for the audience, then please feel free to share that. Otherwise, I can summarize the discussion in a minute. Or any questions anybody has, we are happy to answer that also.
Amit, what is the roadmap that VI has in this whole thing?
Okay, so I was thinking of not making as a VI advertisement session, but since you asked, I'm happy to jump into that question. See, we are serious in this business to an extent that is not comparable with any telco. It is we are treating ourselves as a completely technology firm, and that's why we have invested not only into a variety of solutions, that is on the connectivity side. There are various protocols of solution only in a SIM, if you talk about it, like an eSIM, dual profile, which is a dual profile SIM, or a single profile SIM, plastic SIM, industrial SIM, loads of different kinds of protocols on that side. Uh, but what we derive more satisfaction is on the platform side, which we have invested in. We have got the most robust connectivity management platform, which is a completely self-care model, which is not only helping our B2B clients, but also clients like you, if you get into B2B2C model, where you can clearly do the billing straight away from the platform, raise bills, raise subscriptions, raise payment gateways can be connected. So that's one thing which we empower our clients so that they reinvent their business model. I think that's where we invested. Second is a middleware platform, uh, which is basically the icing on the cake. That once the data comes, how do you know, build third-party applications, which Sandeep did right in the beginning. That how do you deliver better insurance products? How do you deliver better financial, products, or whether it is the EMI scheme for the vehicle, etc., etc. I think that is the second part. Third part is our investment along with CDOT. We have set up a IoT lab, which certifies the solutions from the IoT solutions as per the government norms, because the one M2M policy will be mandated sooner or later. The notes are out for discussion. So from the compliance standard perspective, from the interoperability perspective, we do those testing and jointly certify that. So that's the third investment which we have done. And the fourth investment, which is the more softer part, but that is the intellect part, I think, is the entire team which is running the show in my department. These guys come with wealth of experience from technology firms. They are not only telco guys. In fact, telco is the least I have in my team. They are all coming from organizations where heavy engineering experience, heavy integration experience, heavy software experience. So I think these four pieces makes us stand out, and we are not going to the market and just saying that we'll enable the connectivity. We are giving end-to-end solutions, which takes care of hardware, your application, your platforms, your connectivity, and also the servicing L1, L2, right up till the operation management level. So this is what we are doing on. I know I've given a gist of it, but I'm sure some of my colleagues are also talking about it with your colleagues in some point of time. This is it. Okay. Good. Hope no more questions from anybody else from the audience, because then I can summarize. I don't want to spill over because everybody's time is precious. So people, you all can look at the recording, and I'll just summarize what was actually most interesting. This is more like a highlight of this entire conversation, is the multiple business model, I think, provides huge opportunity for almost everybody, whether a person is an adopter of EV or a person is provider of EV solution. That is the first one, multiple opportunity. The second one was the interesting one which Sandeep came across as a financial viability question, that the positioning has to be changed. We should not be talking about electric vehicle, but connected vehicle. And that was emphatically supported also by Anand. Yes, the moment we shift the language and the positioning, the entire perspective changes of this new product in the market. I think you will get some interesting insights there. The third one was the battle between battery swapping and the charging infra. I think everybody came out saying that no, both will have their own merit. Both will survive, but both will find their own typical use cases. So I think these are the three things which I would leave behind as a summary. And I would encourage you all to share the recordings with your colleagues or friends who have missed it out. And I would offer my sincere thanks to you, Sandeep and Anand, for making it so rich. This conversation was interesting, and I personally had a different view of certain things, but after this meeting, I have got a slightly different view now. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you, everybody who has joined this call today with us.